You know what that sound means? It's another episode of Game for a Movie. It is Game for a Movie 31. I just lost a complete moment of my mind there. What just happened?
I don't know. You glitched out for a second.
I did.
But yes, it is 31.
Yeah, it's 30.
It's kind of confusing because we're double dipping this weekend, aren't we?
We are double dipping this weekend. So we will probably release these separately. But we are recording twice this weekend. This is episode 31, and we're actually doing it out of order because Andre couldn't be a part.
Which I was like, can I get a Santino soundbite from Project Runway? What happened to Andre?
I gotta work on sound bites.
Yeah, we got to be like a morning zoo show where it's just like all these wacky sound bites that keep getting fed in.
Well, like
that'd be a good change.
All of these other shows I listen to have like audio beds, and then they like include sound effects and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa, we don't do that. And then I'm going, no. But we're also, I'm not good enough at that.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how. Like, I used to have like one of those like talkback things as a child, where you like you put a thing in and then you could like layer sound. Like that is the gist of my sound mixing abilities right there.
I think I could do audio beds. I think I could probably do sound effects, but it would take a lot more editing, and I'm lazy. So
Speaking of audio beds, there's a lot of audio issues in the movie that I watched, but we're going to get to that at the end of the episode.
Yes, Mitchell lost. But first, let's introduce ourselves as we do every episode. I am your host, Mike Butank. I am joined by...
It's Jill.
And Mitchell.
We sound like a daytime talk show. Like Jill and Mitchell. Peace sign.
I got my coffee, so I'm right there.
Okay.
I also have my coffee.
All right, well, you both jumped into it. Well, I guess I'm the only heathen on the show because I got a mimosa.
Hey. I'm jelly of your mimosa.
Well, I also have a beer for when the mimosa's gone, which it only has like 2 sips left. Lone Pine Brewing Company from Portland, Maine. I've got Space Metal Dinosaur.
See, that is a prime example of why sometimes you should only buy beer based on the name.
Yes.
Because that is an awesome name.
And honestly, this is a great beer. What's funny about it is I did buy it based on name only. Claire was at the liquor store, and she was buying beer for me because I needed a new 4-pack. And she goes, here are your options. The Space Metal Dinosaur. And I was like, Space Metal Dinosaur.
Yeah, I discovered Pipeworks Ninja versus Unicorn when I was in Chicago solely because of the name.
Yep, they also have Lizard King, which is great. They have some great ones out there.
Shout out to Pipeworks.
I love Pipeworks. Oh my god. I love Lone Pine too. This is a great beer. Okay, we've talked about what we're drinking. We've introduced ourselves. Let's talk movies.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Did you just like sigh about talking movies?
It's like, that's why we're here or something.
I know, but the movie I have to talk about today.
That's fair.
But you know what, Mitchell? Think about it this way. No one can ever make you watch it again. The movie can't hurt you anymore.
That's true. I mean, honestly, the best part about the movie is it was like 80 minutes, and that was it. So I did appreciate that.
Yes, and it is a sequel to one of the ones we've talked about in the show before, so get ready for that. So normally I stick with things that I've watched that are like recent movies. It's never been a rule. We can watch whatever we want. But it's just kind of one of those things where I just like to watch recent. Well, as I'm getting ready to record, I'm going, I haven't really watched any recent movies lately besides one that I'm going to talk about for Cash or Trash. So I did a hashtag boozin' and tweetin' this past week for Clue. 1985 classic Clue. You know, the one with Tim Curry, Christopher Lloyd, Martin Mull, Madeline Kahn, Eileen Brennan. It's a star-studded cast. And Michael McKean. How could I forget him as well? If you don't know Clue, it's based on the board game. It is the best movie released about a board game until Uno comes out next year.
You mean Battleship? Excuse me.
I do not mean Battleship.
Rihanna was in that. How dare you?
Yes, Rihanna is in that, and she's by far a highlight among the sheer stupidity that surrounds her.
No, like I said, it's the best board game movie until Uno comes out next year.
I don't even know how that movie's gonna work.
I have no clue. We're gonna find out. It's gonna be great. It boggles the mind. Clue is basically all these people get invited to a mansion. They get invited there by a mysterious Mr. Body, which I just love the fact that his name is Mr. Body. We have Wadsworth, the butler, played by Tim Curry, to perfection, who basically is told to play this tape, that all of them are getting blackmailed. They all get a weapon each, and they can decide to do with it what they wish. Obviously, the weapons are like the rope, the lead pipe. Why am I explaining this movie? You've probably seen this movie.
You probably have played Clue.
You probably played Clue. Mr. Body ends up dead. So does the cook. And basically makes the whole thing unravel. And then the rest of the movie is trying to figure out who did it. Who done it. Sorry. And what I love about the movie is that there is 3 endings to it. And so when it came out, the theaters got different endings so that nobody could spoil it. And everybody thought they had the right ending.
And it's definitely a ploy, too, to get people to go back.
Right.
And so I wonder how much bank this movie did. That's an interesting ploy.
It did not do well. There's a really good YouTuber, I believe it was her name, I believe the one I'm thinking of is Pushing Up Roses. Mm-hmm. She did a video on this, and that's when I found out that Clue is not a commercial success. It's one of those that it's like Princess Bride. It found success on video release and through rentals.
And it's funny you bring up Princess Bride, because Princess Bride was the last boozing and tweeting. Make sure you're following our Twitter, because I'm day and night on the Twitters. If you want to get annoyed by me in some capacity, please follow our Twitter at Game4MovieP1, especially for these boozing and tweetings. I love when people chime in. I like to watch like classic comedies that a ton of people have watched, so it's never something that I think I'm spoiling. If you haven't seen Clue at this point, like, come on.
It's a great throwback movie. It definitely, it was made in a generation before ours, but it's something that we enjoyed as kids.
Yep.
And as we were discussing before the pod, I think Gen Z and below haven't really been introduced to this movie properly.
Right. And I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna. Well, 2 things. One, yes, it is Pushing Up Roses, the YouTuber. She did a really good video on the history of Clue. And then what Mitchell said is that I didn't watch Clue until I was in college, and I'm more than 91, so I'm still 100% am I a millennial? What am I?
You're a millennial.
You're a millennial, yeah.
But yeah, so I feel that there's not really, especially now with the proliferation of social media, I feel like there's not really that many opportunities to come across this film unless somebody slaps you down in a chair and is like, we're going to watch this. Or you go to a midnight screening, which I think a midnight screening of this would be so fun.
I think so
absolutely.
Too. Yeah, I think that'd be a blast. It did. So this conversation did. Hold up, one sec. Cracking the beer. Yeah, I love that sound.
Mimosa is Dunzo.
Yes, the mimosa is Dunzo. It did bring up a question that I had for you guys, because I don't really think we need to talk a whole lot about this movie. Yes, it's great and everything like that, and I have a rating for it. We can talk about it, but really you just need to experience it yourself, especially the dialogue. It's just so snappy, witty, like everything. The question I had is, when you played Clue growing up, what was your favorite weapon and who was your character?
Well, my character for sure is Professor Plum every time I can get him. Mm-hmm. And then my weapon of choice, I don't know why the rope keeps popping out at me.
Oh.
But the rope, for whatever reason, is sticking out. But really, for character, that the choice that matters here for me is Professor Plum.
Nice.
I was Miss Scarlet, or I don't know. I'm a sibling. I have an older sister, 2 years older. We were kind of color coded, so like she always got blue things, I always got red things. So when we would play a board game, she would always pick the blue piece, and then us being girls and leaning towards more feminine colors, white or red would kind of be my choices. Nobody wanted to be Colonel Mustard and yellow. So Scarlet. As for weapons, I don't know. The lead pipe is just so unrefined and unsophisticated. I kind of love like the sheer brute force of it. So I would say lead pipe, just because it's a fucking lead pipe. Oh, sorry.
What are you sorry for? We're explicit. The E stands for explicit.
We have the explicit warning? Okay, good.
Yes.
We curse all the time on this shit.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Wait, all right. Let's earn our E. Fuck. Okay, good.
Say somebody do their rendition of the George Carlin skit.
Oh no.
Cocksucker motherfucker. I used to remember all of that.
Piss is one of them.
Yes.
Piss? Really?
Tits. Yeah. Tits is one.
No, piss. I think piss.
Like, no, it's tits. It's tits.
Oh, it's tits?
It's tits. Because he talks about Nabisco tits being a snack, and it is one.
It's 7 dirty words, right?
The 7 words you can't say on televition. Cocksucker, motherfucker.
No, we're both right, because piss is one of them.
Oh, okay.
So it goes, shit, piss, fuck. This one hurts to say because it is a really bad word for us, and then in Australia, it's used all the time. Cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. Like that. That is the 7.
For anyone who's clutching their pearls, this conversation was done for the name of, science and discovery, because we needed to discover what these words were.
God damn it! I really want to make this the preview that we put out there, but I just know we can't. We get banned on so many sites.
Yo, that one soundbite we put out on social was just me talking about penises.
Yes, but it was a refined discussion about penises.
I guess.
Peni, if you will. I think we're getting away from the point.
Hey, so I played as Mr. Green. I love the color green, so I was Mr. Green. And
okay, makes sense.
My weapon was the candlestick, because I just found it so weird that it was just a candlestick.
Yeah.
What do you do with it? You just hit somebody with it, right?
Hits them over the head, yeah.
Or maybe you, poke them with a candle.
Right, but the lead pipe is better for, hitting them over the head with. But for whatever reason, I always thought the candlestick was hysterical. It was just like, oh, we've got a revolver, some rope, lead pipe, fine. Candlestick? The fuck?
Poison.
And the poison.
There's everywhere.
Yeah.
Why isn't poison an option?
Well, and poison's an option in the movie. There is a point where they think the brandy was poisoned.
Oh, yeah.
So it is in the movie. And then I had a question for our friends that are across the pond. Is the movie called Clue, or is it called Cluedo? Or Cluedo, that's it.
Oh, got it.
The different versions of it and everything like that? I can't talk, apparently, Cluedo. God damn it.
Okay, so we're talking when it's translated overseas, is what you're saying?
Well, it's called Cluedo or Cluedo everywhere but America.
Yes.
Oh, got it.
And so what would the movie be called? And I think I got told in Germany it was something like a Night for Murder or something like that is what they called it.
That's a great name.
And it was so much better. I was like, this is awesome. And whoever it was that told me this, please tell me again, because I thought it was such a cool name. But yeah.
Night for Murder. Ooh, I like it.
Clue, Tim Curry's finest, I think, in my opinion.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Ooh.
What would you put? Because I would agree.
Rocky Horror is my immediate one, just because it's such a...
Rocky Horror is great.
debut, And I mean, for a lot of people, I think that's their... Okay, maybe it's not a lot of people, but, I feel like Tim Curry... he's also Rooster in Annie, and he's fantastic there. I'm trying to look at a filmography just so I can get my
Don't forget about
right.
it.
That's it.
I've never seen it, so
I gotta say, all of these movies are fine Tim Curry movies. And you got me with Rocky Horror a little bit, where I'm like, ew, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was speaking a little too.
If we're just talking about him and his individual performance, Rocky Horror and Clue are definitely up there.
Yeah,
I would say I'm a person who loves Rocky Horror as a midnight experience.
Yes.
As a movie, it is not good, in my opinion.
No, it's and you and I can talk about this sometimes. Yeah. I agree with you.
I made Claire watch Rocky Horror around Halloween this year. And she got about halfway through and was like, "Why are we watching this?" And I was like,
boring.
"Yeah, that's fair."
It needs to be live.
Well, so I wanted to make her watch that before we did a midnight screening.
So, for going back to my favorite Tim Curry's, I'm going to say it's twofold. So, there's the film live performance, and then there's voice acting for me. So, film, it's Rocky Horror because that's it. Not only is that his first film role, it's just such a tour de force from him, and the way that he enters is just fantastic. But then for voice acting, which for me is where, I mean, Tim Curry's all throughout my childhood in animated films, it's Hexus from Ferngully. Oh. Who knew that some polluted air could be sexy?
Ferngully.
There's your soundbite right there.
Yeah, it is.
Somebody whose song is literally an orgasmic extravaganza about how much he loves pollution.
Okay.
Noxious love.
Okay. I did think of one other one that needs to be on the list is his role in the video game Command and Conquer. Space!
Have not played that.
Nobody really has, but everybody's
seen game?
It is. So it is a. What is it? It has like live action video scenes in between the actual playing of it. It's like an old 90s, 80s game. It's not a good game, but it just has him hamming it up as the Russian villain trying to get to space first. And he has this part where he literally just like in the screen just goes space, and it's insane. I'm not even joking. I'll send you guys the clip. It's so worth it. Clue is a movie that I think is his best performance, and it gets my first. No, I think I have another one. It is
first of 2021.
First of 2021. We will say that. Perfect. 5 out of 5 dead bodies. Yes. Yes.
Very well deserved.
It has earned it. It is one of my favorites. Any bad day I have, I go and watch Clue, and it just makes everything better, and it still holds true to this day.
Yeah. If anyone who's listening to this podcast has never seen it, I think we all can agree, go and watch it.
Yes.
I'm trying to find out where it's streaming.
Check it out from your local library. And watch it.
I think it was on Prime.
It's also on Pluto TV. Oh, and Amazon.
Yeah, okay.
It looks like.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I watched it on Prime.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Jill, that brings us to you.
Yep, the cross stitch is being set down.
I love how you're cross-stitching while you do this. Like, you're... Normally, I'm like, when people are distracted, I'm like, oh, was it something I said? But you were, like, fully in the conversation and still cross-stitching.
I have I can't do, like, idle hands is not a thing for me. So, like, if I wasn't cross-stitching, I would either be multitasking with some other game, like Vertex from the NewYorkTimes.com, or crocheting. I need to do multiple things at once.
That's fair.
My brain just can't. Which is funny because Andre cannot multitask at all. So I'll be trying to have a conversation with him while he's like talking to people online. He's like, nope, my brain is breaking. It's not that hard. So I watched a few movies, and after some deliberation, I've settled on the one I'm going to talk about. It came out in 2019. It is The Farewell, directed by Lulu Wang, starring Awkwafina. This movie... Lulu Wang.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the correction.
Yeah, she pronounces it Wang.
Good to know. Lulu Wang. I remember seeing trailers for this film and hearing the buzz that it was getting during the awards circuit. And I finally had an opportunity to watch it. It is streaming on Amazon Prime for those who are members.
Ooh, okay.
And it is the story of a Chinese family who returns back to China because the grandmother, Nene, she is dying of, I think it's lung cancer. But as is, I guess, a custom in Chinese culture, they're not going to tell her. Instead, they're going to spend the last time they're likely going to see her as normal. They don't want to bring her down with bad news because it's not the cancer that'll kill her. It'll be the sadness and the bad news is the thinking. And Awkwafina stars in it. And she's really the only family member at first who's like, no, we can't do this. This is wrong. If this was America, this would be effectively illegal. But she kind of struggles throughout the whole film to decide, am I going to tell her or am I going to go along with this ruse? and the cover, to explain why all the family is getting together, is a wedding between her cousin and his Japanese girlfriend that they've only been dating for like 2 or 3 months at this point. And it's not clear to me. And a question that I have, maybe Mitchell, was this a real marriage between the cousin and the girlfriend, or were they just gonna get divorced after?
I don't know. So this whole story is based on. So Lulu Wang, before she directed this, she was a producer on This American Life, and this was a story that she put out there. So I think a lot of it is legitimate and true.
Yeah, it's based on a real lie, is how the movie.
Based on a real lie, exactly. So I don't know what the custom is. I can't really speak to that, but that could be the case.
Yeah, but this movie is really fantastic. I don't want to give too much away, but it's very interesting seeing the family dynamics play out, because over time, other family members start to reveal that they too feel that this might not be the right way to go about these things. Maybe it would be better if they tell the grandmother. But then other ones are like, no, this is just not how it's done. It's better. It's a kindness to keep the truth from her. And the whole time, Awkwafina delivers such a fantastic performance. I'm used to seeing her being loud and brash and funny from her YouTube days, and then also in Ocean's 8. I haven't seen her in Raya and the Last Dragon, but I know she plays the dragon, and it's kind of like a genie-esque performance, but she's just so wonderful here, and you really see her convey so many emotions while also trying to not show them, because the family is concerned that she's going to just spill the beans immediately.
Right.
And there's some gorgeous cinematography, too. I really enjoyed how there are these many wonderful shots around China showing like old with the new. So buildings that are being torn down and new developments happening. There's a scene where they're driving and Awkwafina's character, Benny, says, "Oh, I recognize this place. Why do I recognize it?" And a character's like, "Oh, this is where your grandmother lived." She's like, "Oh, let's go back. I want to see the house." No, it's not there anymore. Oh. And I found that kind of poignant, this slow removal of the old being replaced with these new infrastructure, which is kind of funny because you're seeing this modernization of China, and yet there's this clinging on to this old custom of not telling people that they're dying, which, like I said at the beginning, I had no idea that was a thing.
Okay.
It was a really good movie. It is mostly in, I think, Mandarin, so subtitles are required. Don't try to multitask to this, as I originally thought maybe I could. But
there's a world of great movies out there if you just read the little words.
Just read the subtitles.
Yeah. Sorry, I probably screwed that quote up, but it's great.
Yeah. And and then, despite all of this kind of this sad topics, you do have some really hilarious scenes between characters. There's a scene where Awkwafina's character and the grandmother are outside doing exercises, and the grandmother is like walking around, like hitting parts of her body, expelling out the bad energy. She's like, "This is how I stay young." And then there's another scene during the wedding reception where you're watching all these characters just kind of get boozy and singing karaoke, playing a drinking game. And you really feel towards the end like you're part of this family and you're peeking into this very sad time in their lives. And you really kind of walk away at the end of it being like, okay, that was something, and now I have to think about how do I feel if I was in this situation? What would I do?
Right.
So, yeah, The Farewell, big fan. Happy I finally got to see it.
It's interesting that I think I'm the only person that hasn't seen it, obviously, of the three of us. It's interesting to hear you both say such high things about it, and that I still haven't watched it yet. I think that's what I think is funny about it all.
It's not work. I wouldn't say this movie is like a task to watch, but you definitely should be in. You shouldn't go into this movie not in. You shouldn't go in a bad mood. I would do not recommend that. Okay. It might upset you. I mean, in my family, not that we lied to someone about having health issues, but bad news about health is not really something my family talks about. So We had my mother's father pass away, but then his older sister, she didn't know he died. And she passed away a couple months later, never knowing that. And that always kind of bothered me But then, framed after watching The Farewell, where they're saying it's not the cancer, it's the bad news. It's like, yeah, I can see the other side of this argument.
Yeah, and that's very interesting that you bring that up, because like hearing you talk about that, it's definitely something that it's a conundrum. Like, if you find out bad news about somebody else, do you tell them? Do you not? Even in like smaller things, it doesn't need to necessarily be like, oh, somebody's dying. It's, hey, this person is. I'm trying to think of a smaller example, but there is small examples where it's, this bad news. Do you tell them ahead of it, or do you hold off? Do you? I think we can all relate to that, even if it's not like a culture thing. We do relate to that.
I think the big question in the movie, were they doing it for themselves, or were they really trying to do it for Nene?
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like, I think that's what I came away with.
Yeah.
Like, how much is the custom for yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. The comfort in, well, if I don't tell her the bad news, then it's not necessarily real. And you can see that across the family members, that there are some who are like Awkwafina's character Billy, where they're like, no, this isn't right, this isn't good. But then there are other ones who are like, it's the way things are. Life goes on. It'll be all right. And I really like that you got that range of character reactions to the situation, because it left it ambiguous. Was this for them, or was this for her?
Yeah. And Mike, to your credit, I mean, the reason why not a lot of people have seen this, 2019, I'm just looking back now, this was an A24 movie, and 2019 was a huge year for A24 in terms of putting out just a ton of projects.
Whoa. Before you do this, because,
yeah.
All right, we're going to test my knowledge, because you know my movie preferences. We're going to see how many of these I've actually seen for your point here.
Okay, well, I was just going to say, they're with a smaller production company like A24, which is known for its, higher brow content.
Yeah.
But they will pick and choose a handful of projects to really put a marketing push behind.
Okay.
And in my opinion, just looking at the box office results, the top two, number one is, at the very end of the year, they came out with Uncut Gems. September 2019. So obviously you get Adam Sandler.
So there's the one.
That's number one, and they pushed a lot in terms of marketing and in terms of award, consideration. Mm-hmm. And then in the summer they had Midsommar, and that was a movie that made $40 million or something like that off a very tiny budget. So
I'm 1-1. 1-1.
1-1.
I haven't officially finished Uncut Gems. I got really uncomfortable that night.
I'll say
that about the movie.
There's no way I can continue on with this list, because there's no way you've seen Waves.
Okay.
There's no way you've seen The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which is a movie I really liked, but it just wasn't pushed that hard. High Life, Gloria Bell, The Souvenir, which is a movie I still need to see but really want to. Under the Silver Lake, I didn't see until last year. And then, what's another one? The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe.
I've seen that one now.
I'm 1-8.
But I feel like The Lighthouse, they've had more publicity than The Farewell, because you could sell it based on, come see Willem Dafoe. Yes. Wacky star power.
Yes.
Like, we're going to put these two actors together in a room, in a very tight room, and you should just come to watch what happens.
So I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself for hearing of most of those. I think Waves and Under the Silver Lake were the only two I hadn't heard before we talked about it. And I know this hurts you deeply inside, but
no, it doesn't. I feel fine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. All of this is to say that I think The Farewell is an absolute must-watch if you are in the right mood. And I don't want to make that sound like you only have to be happy going into it, but I could absolutely see people walking away from this film being like, oh my God, this was such a downer. And now I feel bad about things.
We all have all have our movie that feels that way sometimes. Like, yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And I think that this is just a really good showcase of Awkwafina's acting abilities. I know some people who don't like her, which is weird. But I think that this shows that she's not like a one-trick pony, that her character in Crazy Rich Asians is not all that she is. She has range, and she can do a lot of emoting without actually emoting, if you know what I mean. I'm not talking like Emmy Rossum stone face in Phantom of the Opera, but like when she can't convey the sadness that she has about the situation, you still see it in her eyes, and you really feel like the conflict.
That's the second week in a row we've talked about Emmy Rossum.
Really? Oh yeah, because she popped up in
DBE.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about her tomorrow. Hey, you know what? At least she learned how to emote for that movie.
And Awkwafina, this is, I don't agree with the Golden Globes a lot, but she won the Golden Globe that year.
She did. You're right. I did not. Once again, I failed to do my homework and forgot to look that up. But yes. So I would say 4 out of 5. The only reason I'm gonna leave off the not give it a 5 is the emotion, because of the emotions that I felt while watching it, and then what I walked away from. But
4 out of 5 what?
4 out. Oh my god, there's so much food in this movie. Oh my god, it looked so good. I got so hungry. I just wanted to go eat dim sum. I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 crab plates.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Not lobster, crab.
So we've had a pretty good episode so far. We've got a 5 out of 5. We got a 4 out of 5. Let's keep it rolling with the great movie that Mitchell had to watch.
I'm so excited to hear about the cinematic masterpiece.
Yes.
Guys, as a sports fan, there are many moments where I'm watching someone like Steph Curry. When he is hot and hitting every three-point shot that he's putting up there, I'm thinking to myself, wow, he makes it look so damn easy. I bet I could go out to the yard right now and do the same thing. And as it turns out, I can't. And then this movie made me and Kelly say the same thing. Wow, we could go out and make this movie for the complete opposite reason because of how
made Kelly watch
bad
this?
it was. Kelly sat down and actually watched the entirety of Vampire Boys 2, The New Brood.
Yes!
She's a keeper.
She's a keeper.
She's a keeper.
And it was a 75-minute journey of emotion and, let's see, brooding, as the title would suggest. A lot of shirtless men, a lot of full frontal nudity from men.
More peni?
And what's that?
More peni?
Oh, lots of it. Lots of peni.
Does this movie have a subtitle, Vampire Boys 2 Back in Action, or something like that?
The New Brood. The New Brood. Yeah. And then, so we got a lot of great action sequences. But let's get into it, okay? So I was, writing down notes as I typically do watching these bad movies. We watched this on Tubi, so we had the 1, it's free, which is great. And then 2, there are like little ad breaks throughout the movie, so I actually had time to jot down notes, so I could be a captive audience and then jot them down during an appropriate time. So here's some of the notes I wrote down.
Let me guess, you were a really captive audience.
I was. Me and Kelly were just like, honestly, first up, this is an incredibly hard movie to follow. And throughout the entire time, we were looking on IMDb, we're looking on Wikipedia if we could, trying to figure out what the hell are any of these people talking about? Because it looks like they're referencing so many things from the first Vampire Boys, with characters and plot development from that one. But Mike, as you pointed out, if you were watching this sequel, having watched the first one before, you wouldn't recognize anyone because they recast the entire fucking movie.
Yep.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
Completely. It's the same characters, just recast.
Yes. And
what does that say about the first one, then, that they didn't want to come back?
It's just that they all just got immediate success, and the movie couldn't afford them anymore. But
True.
Anyway, that is not true, because one of my favorite things about IMDb, I'm looking through the cast list for Vampire Boys 2, and it looks like a screen of characters you have yet to unlock in a video game. Because it is just those silhouettes of people with names next to them. And you're like, oh, wow, they haven't done anything besides this movie.
Yes.
And for the most part, that was true. It was tough. It was tough. And I can see why. The acting itself, if I want to start somewhere, is that it it felt very high school. It felt middle school, where someone would say, and Mike, you're someone who, did theater in college, and you've probably seen this growth with a lot of actors, but you would have someone say their line, the other person takes a beat, and then they say their line.
Yeah.
It's just like they're waiting for their turn to talk.
Oh, especially in high school, like it's just line. You
gotta feel the line.
And definitely experiencing it in my 2 years of college theater. You see when people start to hit that point of just like, but why am I feeling that way?
That was the vibe. Yeah. For 75 minutes. And thank God this was 75 minutes. That was easily the best part of the movie. But it's incredible of how much this thing reminded me of The Room. And I'm not using that as a compliment in the fact that The Room is, in a way, a fun watch because of how abnormally bad it is. And you have just the craziest line reading and all that. But I'm just talking about the sheer quality of the filmmaking. And that is the use of ambient sound. One of my favorite moments. This movie is set in L.A. allegedly.
Yes.
And I hate Canada.
Yeah, no, they are in L.A. But here's the choice that really befuddled me. They're supposed to be like in the woods, just like away from society, and they're all like these vampires are talking to each other, and they decide to mix the audio crazy where you could hear nature really, really loud. And it's like bugs and animals and chirping of animals that are not indigenous to the Los Angeles area. And that is what made it so hard to follow, partly because I could even hear the dialogue of what these dudes were saying. And it's like them in the woods. And another great moment, as they're walking through the woods, they definitely wanted you to know that they're walking on like crunchy leaves and twigs and stuff. And
they really made you feel like a leaf in that forest.
Oh yeah, they wanted you there. And yeah, like who cares what the characters are saying as long as you know you're in the woods with them.
I'm
you
glad
would not pay for a 4D experience of this film.
Look, they went all out.
I'm really glad that they kept the same sound editor from the first one because that's what it sounds like.
Look, I mean, everyone has their first movie, and unfortunately, the second movie wasn't a big step up.
Was there? Wait, all right, so we need to talk about sound. Was there a rabble, rabble, rabble anywhere in the movie?
No,
Damn.
There was not a discernible rabble, rabble, rabble.
Damn, because that was the sound editor in the first one's like crowning achievement, where the rednecks there were just literally saying rabble, rabble, rabble.
And I think that would have actually helped the movie because that makes it feel like, oh, it knows what it is.
Okay.
This one, it feels like they're trying to tell, in certain scenes, like they really believe that this is a story of self-sacrifice and love and choosing to be the better man despite bad circumstances. Like, it's all there, kind of. And unfortunately, none of it's executed. And then one more thing about the sound, which I love so much, that you could just, this brings me back to college, really. Whenever you're filming something and you're cutting between the different cameras, a tell of that it was recorded poorly from an audio perspective is that you could hear the audio quality change as you're going from camera cut to camera cut.
Oh, and, no.
Yeah, the ambient noise changes as you're going in the same scene. You're in the diner or wherever, and there's like a lot of white noise, and then there's none. And then it's like,
oh god,
it's like, oh my god, this is so jarring. And again, hard to follow, despite the mountains worth of exposition that was given through the dialogue. Just absolutely incredible.
So what's the plot?
Yeah, what is the plot? That is a great question. That is a question that philosophers are
interested in knowing.
Still considering. Yeah, this movie was made in 2013, so obviously, capturing the Twilight craze, or trying to at least. And this was basically, it boils down to two covens, so two groups of vampires who are put in a position to battle each other. And really, it's two people trying to determine who's going to live and who's going to die. And it's between our main characters, Jason and Demetrius. Demetrius is the antagonist.
Okay.
And Demetrius is actually the one who is setting this up. And the plot goes, essentially, there's a fight club of sorts in the vampire world, and Demetrius wants to take that over and recruit humans to become vampires by making them fight each other to the death. And while these humans, battle out, and whoever ends up surviving then gets turned into a vampire as a reward, and it goes from there.
Let me guess, the fighting takes place shirtless.
Oh, most of the movie takes place shirtless.
Yes. Okay.
But here's the deal. So you talk about the shirtless thing, and typically it's to, just kind of exploit the fact that these guys have amazing bodies, amazing abs, or whatever.
I want to be titillated by the hotness on the screen.
Nope.
That is not the case in this movie. And
it's not the case in the first one either.
In one case, I guess you could respect it, as Kelly brought up, is just like, well, they're kind of, just saying like, hey, this is any body, any, space body can be in this movie, and that's kind of, all encompassing. That's cool. Very
good
inclusive.
for you, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, if a dude is shirtless, you may as well make it worth the audience's time.
This makes me think of the second Twilight movie where, after like 2 hours of hanging out with a very, very good-looking Taylor Lautner, who's shirtless, also, it jump cuts to Edward in Venice or wherever he is, and he's like solemnly taking off his shirt to reveal to the world that he's a vampire. And I just remember being in a theater, and like when he took that shirt off, the girls on my left, my right, and my best friend on my left were like, and I was like, ugh.
So
Not so much.
I saw that movie in a midnight screening for a girl because, reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If I wanted to see myself on screen in a movie,
I was like, okay, to Edward, to Robert Pattinson's credit, at least when he made this movie, I appreciate that he looked like the everyman, but after all of that Taylor Lautner hotness, it was quite the step down.
Get ready for bad abs.
Oh god, yeah. And the first set of like abs, quote unquote, we see, and he's actually probably my favorite character in the movie, and it shows a lot that I don't even care to remember the character's name. But he's in it, and he's actually someone that you want to root for. He's the guy who originally is running this gym where people are doing the fight club. And he's kind of a bigger, heftier dude. And there's a moment in the first scene where he is getting dressed from fighting. And there's like this insert shot of him zipping up his hoodie. And it's just centered and focused in on his abdomen, if you want to call it that. And it's just like clearly designed to make you think, oh, wow, look at these rock hard abs. And it's just like a one zip, very gratuitous shot. I didn't get it at all. Made me laugh. But anyway, that's the point.
I feel like the rest of this podcast I need to do shirtless, like pop my top off, like.
Look, I ain't gonna stop you.
You know what? If you guys want to be in Vampire Boys 3, the Unfanging, go for it.
The
Live your
Unfanging.
That's pretty good.
I do like that.
So, okay.
Oh, Mike has now.
Wait, is he doing it? Oh, shit.
Mike has
Nice.
done it.
Shirtless podcasting.
Do you have a hoodie that you could, like, sultrily zip up?
I do actually have a sultrous hoodie that I can zip up shortly. Give me a second.
Like a comedian who does, like,
Bert Kreischer.
Yeah.
Bert Kreischer.
The Machine.
The Machine. Hey, at Bert Kreischer, when you listen to our show, listen to Dads on Dayquil. They really want to get you on the show.
Mike, for the sound intro, instead of the can popping, it should be the zipper.
I'm sorry, ready?
No.
Oh no!
I got a fake sound effect on YouTube. You can find one.
The zipper.
Yeah.
Why do I have my shirt off? Wait, what happened?
Zip for a movie.
Zip for a movie. Oh,
Hey.
wow. That could be our, like, porn side podcast.
When we talk about bad pornos, I'm actually totally down for that.
I mean, this movie is pretty damn close to being a porno, I would say.
Is it rated R? Is it unrated?
Well, with the full frontal, like, I don't know what it's rated. I mean, it should be NC-17 or up, I would imagine.
Well, if it's flaccid, we know it's R.
That's true. Everything was dead flaccid. I don't know how anyone could be aroused by any of the sex scenes that they were trying to pull off.
All right, it's cold. I'm putting my shirt back on.
Good for you.
Sorry, sorry.
Gotta find it. I threw it away, so.
Oh my god. I mean, the awkwardness that we're experiencing here was basically all 75 minutes of Vampire Boys 2.
What awkwardness?
What awkwardness?
We're just dudes with our shirt off.
Just a couple dudes, the shirt off, you know?
Dude. Singular dude with shirt off.
Singular dude, you know?
Whatever.
Don't be down to hang.
So, Mike, I got a question for you.
Shoot.
Becoming a vampire, me and Kelly were trying to figure out why every character in the movie was gay. Like, was that something that was a point by the director, or is that part of this universe? And I deduced that the reason that this was the case was because you immediately, when you turn into a vampire, you become infatuated and fall in love with the person who turns you. And in every single case in this movie, the person who gets turned or does the turning is from a male vampire, right? We do not see a female.
So I don't.
Okay.
So in the end of Vampire Boys 1,
yeah,
both the female and the male that were up for being the one that Jason would turn, both got turned.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a female and a male that both got turned.
Yeah, the female's back in this too.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I was going to ask if any women were in this movie.
I don't think the idea was every vampire's gay. I think it was more so like they're just so they don't care. Like they don't care male or female, that kind of thing. I think
Got it.
So I think they're just bi creatures.
That tracks with just general vampirism and pop culture is that when you're an immortal, what is like why limit yourself? You're gonna live forever, you know.
And I think
vampire, it doesn't matter.
I think the idea with some of the people that have been turned, at least in my understanding of Vampire Boys 1, the 4 main vampires in Vampire Boys 1, Jason was the leader, and then the other 3 just feel like his boys that he thinks he can hang out with for forever. They don't necessarily have relations. They're just, hey, this is my crew. Like, these are my boys. This is Tiny. This is Bigwig. This is Shark. You know, like.
Well, Jason has a lover. Like, he definitely has a lover in this movie.
Caleb?
His name is Kevin.
Oh,
Caleb? Yeah, it was Caleb. It was Caleb.
Caleb was in the first one.
Okay, so he is his lover in this one. The very first scene, we see them together in bed. So that is established from the get-go. And he is actually, Caleb's kind of the MacGuffin of this whole thing. Because Demetrius basically abducts him and wants to turn him over to his coven by fighting the only female character that we have seen in this movie. But how the whole battle sequence at the end pans out, she is about to kill Caleb and eventually, take the win for Demetrius. But then one of Demetrius's boys, who I believe his name is Kevin, kind of has a change of heart and stops her from stabbing Caleb, and he just utters out love. And then the girl's like, oh, yeah, bet. And then throws the knife over at Demetrius, seemingly killing him. And then as he's like lying down, dying on the floor, the one who's there to catch him is Jason. And Demetrius looks up at Jason. He's just like, why do they love you but hate me? And then Jason he explained it. I mean, doing a great job here, just explaining it, turning, as Kelly put it, making the text out of subtext, and really just explained, well, I took a bad situation and, handled it well, and you did not. and my boy died. But he doesn't die, by the way, because I don't think you can die, because homeboy Demetrius turns up in the next scene. This is a Chewbacca in Rise of Skywalker situation.
No. So in the first one, they have to be decapitated. They can be.
Right. There's a lot of decapitating in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll roll.
So if he got stabbed, he's just minorly inconvenienced for a while.
Right, and he disappears, something like that.
Like it's a dramatic death scene anyway, even though it's already obvious that he's not dead.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you want to set up the number 3. You want to set up Vampire Boys 3. And
I can't wait for the next episode, which is Vampire Boys 3.
Oh my god. So anyway, that's how it all turns out. They all go their separate ways in the Los Angeles woods, very famous of the Los Angeles area. And they just go about their separate ways. One of my favorite parts in this movie, by the way, is I'm just going to bring it way back. You could tell how campy and not knowing how campy and shitty their movie was, but there's a scene that takes place on a bus, like like a bus in some parking lot that was empty, and these two people try to have sex in it. And this is actually the first abduction scene that we paid witness to in this movie with Demetrius. So these two human lovers just going after it in a bus until they're like, holy shit, someone's outside. So they run out, they go down the aisle of the bus, and then they turn and try to get out, but they can't. So they're like, oh man, we have to go through the back. So they turn around and go back. In that shot where they're turning around and going back, in the driver's seat of a dark bus, you can clearly see the hand of a camera operator who is there to take the other angle of them running down the aisle. It is incredible. I had to rewind it just to make sure it wasn't like a vampire hiding who was going to like jump out at them.
No.
He was not. He was a cameraman. He was just doing his job.
I just recorded it on screen.
It is one of those things where it's an easy shot to capture without the cameraman there, and then you just run the same shot again, just with the cameraman back in that driver's seat shot if you want it. And it's incredible of so many mistakes that were made. And I'm just like, it blew my mind how bad of a movie this was.
Yeah.
Like, you had to do this on purpose.
I just don't think they cared. I think they literally said, we're just going to make this movie, and if stuff happens, stuff happens. We're going to make it for as cheap as possible, and we're just going to capitalize. And capitalize on Twilight, which makes me think of, Twilight, there was a lot of wood scenes. We need the LA woods. That definitely exists.
Right. And there's definitely nature in LA, but it's not like, let's go to the woods. Yeah, that type of nature. Like, yeah. I was howling
so
at all the different bugs that we heard.
So is there like a post-credit scene that does set up the third one? Is there a third one? That's
a great question.
There's not a third one. As far as I know, there's not a third one. Maybe production has begun, but I doubt it. There's not a third one. So if you've joined our podcast for Vampire Boys coverage, unfortunately, this is where it ends.
The train stops here.
Yes.
Well, I think what we need to clearly do is a fan-made Vampire Boys 3, The Unfanging, or I haven't thought of a better name, Vampire Boys 3 2001 or something like that.
I gotta lose some flab.
We just get a camcorder and go into the woods of New England, real woods, with real crunchy leaves and insects. And do our best. I
need to lose some flab, not because I need abs, but because I need to represent the vampire body, which is just everyman.
Yeah, it's the everyman look that you have to go for.
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't be in it because this movie doesn't have women, but
it has one.
You would have 3 lines of dialogue.
No, she has more than 3.
Oh, okay. So I'm actually gonna get I earn my 4 sentences of dialogue rather than here, have a paycheck. You just stood there on the screen. You're a sexy lamp. That's basically what that trope is.
You're a sexy lamp.
Women who are in a thing for no reason other than to look good. Sexy lamp.
Hey, we've got a new merch option there. You're a sexy lamp.
You're a sexy lamp.
I mean, it's basically the female version of the, you play a tree in the play. You're in a play. You play the tree.
Hey, I was tree number 3 in 4th grade.
It was a shrub.
Shrub.
In some Jewish play I was in Hebrew private school.
Okay.
Any of the elementary school plays I've been in, we never had those roles. Thank God. I always thought that was just a TV thing. It's what? Other kids do this?
So
go for it.
Oh, no, what I was going to say is, so when I was tree number 3, it was when I was older. So the it was like, all right, it was probably later than that. Obviously, I'm joking with this. It was like the freshman play in high school, but I was a junior, so they made the older kids do the you're tree number 3, so that the freshmen can get the spotlight. We still needed somebody to do this. So we did the Phantom Toll Booth. I was the toll booth arm. That was my position, was the toll booth arm.
Gotcha.
So in my case, if you've ever seen, so like, you know how like the Nutcracker is structured, where it's like different age groups play the different characters that populate the world. So like the Sugar Plums are usually like, you know, maybe like first and second graders. I can't think of other characters from a Nutcracker, but you know how like different age groups play different characters. So in my case, I was in like my Hebrew private school. I must have been like first or kindergarten. So like my age group played plants because we were doing a play about like the seasons of the year and the Jewish holidays that fall into each season. So like me being a shrub was not like, oh, we don't know what to do with your character, so go play inanimate object number 5. It was like, no, this is your age group. Your age group plays these things.
That's good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it was a caste system.
Yes.
Yeah.
A casting system.
A casting. All right.
Guys,
Mitchell.
so I looked, okay, before I get to my rating.
Okay.
So Sterling Entertainment is the group that produced this movie. They have a website called sterlingmoviefactory.com.
Okay.
And once you go on it, by the way, Google Chrome is telling me this is not secure. But the quote that says, like at the very front in yellow text, it says, "You can make a movie too." And then you enter the website, and then in the About Us section, it's telling you that David Sterling is a guy who produces movies at a micro budget level, and the key is to get kids who have not made their first movie yet and invite them to make those movies with him. And that is it. Like, this is the guy who's like, all right, pay me money for the budget, and then we will make this movie for you.
And so do you and Kelly want to make a movie? Like,
we had talked about it last night. Talked about it last night.
And
Vampire Boys 3!
Yeah.
Vampire Boys 3!
We could do Vampires Boy. We could probably write a better script than this. I'm not sure about the rest of the movie, like if we could overcome the actual physical production part, but
I mean,
this is hilarious.
I like
totally should.
I like Vampire Boys 3, The Unfanging. Is there any better subtitle that we need to include? I like it, though. And I think that we might have a winner.
Honestly, I think we just go from there. We work from the title on down. And,
what does that mean to be unfanged?
What does that mean? What does that mean to be unfanged?
So maybe to get like the vampirism reversed. So
I think Jason needs to be turned into a human.
He lives a day as a human, and he gets to experience the everyman's life. He gets to go to a Starbucks, and they give him the wrong order. He ggets like full fat milk in his dairy-free latte.
They spelled Jason.
They spelled Jason the right way on the cup.
Oh, well, that works too. I was thinking like Jayson instead of Jasin. Jason.
Fuck it up. Oh my God.
He plays Heavy Rain, and every time somebody goes Jason, he goes.
Anyway, like, we're talking about a movie that can be made, guys. So
it can be made.
It can be made. So let us know what you think the plot should be of The Unfanging, and we will get to work on that script.
I have way too much on my my plate, but if anybody wants to write that, please, I'm in.
I'm with you.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
So you have idle hands.
The Vampire Boys 2, The New Brood from 2013. I'm giving this one a classic Mitchell 0, and yes, that is a half star. I'm going to give this a half decapitated head because, damn it, they made a movie.
And so can you.
And so can you.
You know what this means, though, don't you?
What?
Now that I've watched the first one, you've watched the second one, and we're making the third one, we have to watch the two for research of what the storyline is to this point.
We absolutely.
I agree with Jill.
I'm gonna pull on pop culture osmosis. What my love of the mid 2000s hit The Covenant, because I think the Unfangy needs some male witches.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Why not?
Oh, that's how he gets unfanged.
I love a monster mash, so.
That's how he gets unfanged.
So, no, we do not need to do any prior research. If anything, we don't want our artistic vision to be hampered by what came before and those failures.
God damn it.
No, they all made money. So, according to this website, every movie this man has produced has made money. So
but he's a regular Rumpelstiltskin. Good for him.
Yes.
I mean, certain movies make money when the budget is $5.
That's it. That's the secret. That's the secret sauce.
I gotta imagine something like Tsunami made money.
Yeah, I think
maybe overseas. Maybe it was big in Japan.
China Salesman definitely made money.
It is all about distribution.
Yes.
Finding the right path for distribution. For them back in the day, it was those DVD bins in front of Walmart. And this year, or, maybe it's Tubi, maybe it's Pluto TV. I don't know where this thing could land.
So, I guess, on that note, and this is totally like me dragging out this conversation, could they put this in a Walmart $1 bin because of the nudity?
Oh, that's a good question. No. Maybe if you have the rating on there.
Maybe, because I'm trying to think of what's usually in those bins, and it's usually G, PG, PG-13, maybe if you unrated documentaries, but I didn't think they put hard R content in those bins.
I think I got Major League 2 from one of those bins, and it's an R-rated movie. Obviously, it doesn't have as much nudity, so I'm wondering where the line is, because I think that's a hard R. But,
oh, yeah.
But it's not a, nudity R. It's we say fuck a few times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Only what we need to do is go up to our local Targets and Walmarts and ask them what their criteria is for, what can and can't be binned.
I'll do that. I'm in. I'll ask them and then record the answer as it happens, and we'll put it as bonus.
Cool. Mike on the Street. I love the new segment.
Mike on the Street. Oh, God. That'd be fun. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back with Cash or Trash. This break is brought to you by the podcast Shoot the Flick, which is by Scott and Frankie. They are a married couple. They introduce each other to new films. And what's fun, I don't think this is going to be in their promo. I haven't exactly listened to it yet, but I'm guessing it's not going to be in there. This entire year, every month, they are doing a different Harry Potter film as one of their episodes. And so we are in March recording this, so they've gotten up to, what is that, Prisoner of Azkaban?
Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah. So
that's a good one, too.
All of the episodes so far have been a blast. Listen to them after you listen to us, of course. Shoot the Flick. Here's their promo.
Hey there, this is Frankie Sparks.
And this is Scott Eisenberg.
We're married.
And we have a podcast called Shoot the Flick.
Every week, Scott and I introduce each other to a new movie the other one has never seen. We talk about it, give our thoughts on it, and also share some behind-the-scenes fun facts.
We want you guys to come along and enjoy the movies with us.
Check us out on Instagram and Twitter @ShootTheFlick, and check out our weekly episodes every single Wednesday on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and pretty much anywhere else you can find a podcast.
Come and listen to us now as Frankie and I
Shoot the Flick!
That was our friends at Shoot the Flick. Hopefully you check them out after you check us out, of course, because, we're awesome and everything like that. We love Shoot the Flick. They're great, too. That brings us to our award-winning segment, and award-winning is in hyphen, or quotations because, hyphen. Quotations, because, it hasn't won any awards yet, but we can say it did.
Yeah, who's going to fact check us?
Exactly. It's Cash or Trash. Hashtag.
Hey, Cash or Trash.
Yes. Mitchell, where's the song?
Oh, I know. We got to make one.
Yes. We need a song.
Oh, okay. I tried to sing it last time, and just lyrically, I had no idea where to go. I couldn't rhyme.
You did rhyme, didn't you, last time?
I did, but I can't recapture that same magic, unfortunately.
Okay.
We'll see. I'll try it for the outro. And
okay.
We'll see if I can get there again.
Yes, we'll try for the outro. Okay, cool. So, Cash or Trash, I guess I'll start. I watched the film on Netflix, I Care a Lot, which is Rosamund Pike and Peter Dinklage. Basically, Rosamund Pike plays a caretaker of old people as soon as they lose their facilities. She kind of puts them in a home and takes care of them. Well, what we learn early on in the film is that she's taking care of them by putting them in a home, even if they don't need it, getting sole custody, where they basically give all their money to her to use, and then once they die, she uses this money on nice apartments, good meals, clothes, jewels, whatever. But she has taken the wrong mother, because Peter Dinklage is not happy.
Ruh-roh.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wouldn't want to piss off Peter Dinklage.
Yes. The only thing that I would say is not cash about this movie is I really didn't care for the ending. And like, we're talking the very, very end. I think there was a solution that was already in there that I actually kind of liked. But then it kept going for an extra 5 minutes or whatever it is. 5-10 minutes maybe. That's the only part I didn't like. And then, I don't know what it is, but Peter Dinklage holding a gun is not threatening. He does a lot of threatening things in this movie, but for whatever reason, that wasn't. But everything else about this movie, straight cash. I highly suggest this film. It was a quick watch for what it was. I think it's like 2 hours. And like, it doesn't feel long. Besides maybe that last 10 minutes that's at the end. But really, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was pretty good. And the love interest for Rosamund Pike is, I'm going to say this wrong, Aiza Gonzalez, who was she was the girlfriend of John Hamm in Baby Driver.
Oh, yeah.
Darling.
Okay.
That was her name, Darling.
Yeah.
So she was Darling in Baby Driver, and she's excellent in this as well. Those three are pretty great in this, besides Peter Dinklage holding a gun, which was not threatening.
Is this based on a true story?
I don't think so. If it is, it's the loosest based on a true story ever, because you'll see the plot gets a little crazy. Not in a bad way, but it gets a little crazy where I just cannot see that actually happening in real life.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And that's also starting with the premise of the fact that she puts people in homes and gets them to sign over everything to her.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So we're cash on that.
Cash on that.
Yeah.
Jill?
I have a new Netflix mini-series, so not a film. It is Marriage or Mortgage, where couples are brought on. It's all set in and around the Nashville area, and they are presented with two choices. Either their dream home or their dream wedding. And they get to decide, and they have two quippy people assisting them, a wedding planner and a real estate agent. So throughout the 43-minute episodes, they're driven around town. They're shown 3 houses and I don't want to say 3 wedding venues, because it's not always like 3 wedding venues, but like they give their wish lists for both, and then they have to decide, take the wedding or take the marriage. And because I'm secretly a grandma in a 29-year-old's body...
Take the wedding or take the house? You said take the wedding or take the marriage.
Sorry, take the wedding or take the house.
Take both!
Take the marriage or the mortgage. And because I'm secretly a grandma in the body of a 29-year-old, I watch this show while I cross-stitch, because it's really easy just to have on in the background. And I'm going to say, like, it's trash. Like, I can't sit here and tell you this is like the next Queer Eye. Like, you're not going to cry and feel good about yourself because their lives have been so vastly improved by houses and weddings that they're still paying for, by the way. They're not being given these things. They come in with a budget, so they present how much they're ready to put aside for a mortgage and how much they're ready to put aside for a wedding. So, like, wedding budgets range from like the mid double digits, thousands, so like 15,000, 20,000, 33,000, and then they have the money that they set aside for the mortgage, 300 or 400, 495,000. So like, they're not getting these things for free. But watching it play out, you're thinking, well, duh, you take the goddamn house.
Every time.
Every time.
That is wealth that's going to accumulate over time for that couple.
Yes.
And, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of them are young, too. They're, like, in their early, mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s. So it's like, get the house.
So when would you ever take the wedding, Joe?
So the only time that I would take the wedding is if I was older and I probably could find a house with my partner. Hopefully there's a partner. And I guess the thing that really picks it apart for me, because I've thought about it for too long, is that if you have a really good real estate agent, you could still probably find these properties. But it's like the connections that the wedding planner and the real estate agent have that like get to bring down the costs. Yeah. So like the time that I would take the wedding is I'm slightly older. I could probably still find a house in my price range because my price range to start off with is rather good. So, I'm willing to put down $495,000 on a mortgage versus like $290, especially depending on the area. But like the wedding planner, depending on what you're asking, she, at least in the show, seems to have a lot of connections where she's convincing a band that's really hard to book to play at a discounted rate, or talking to entertainment venues to throw in extra features like valet parking and the bar for free. They just have to pay for the catering, so the food. There was like one couple who wanted to have like trolley cars to get people transported, but it was going to be very, very expensive for that. So she was able to convince the company to give them the free trolley cars, things like that. So it's like all these little extra perks that like bring down that cost considerably. That's when I would take the wedding, where it's like, this is really like $45,000 wedding, but I'm only spending like $25,000 because of these discounts. Sure, I'll take the wedding.
And I think it makes sense if you're older, in that, if you're young and you get a house, then you can actually enjoy the fact that it's going to hit a certain value, you're going to cash in. And if you're older, like in your 50s getting married, then you don't necessarily have that same thing to look forward to, unless you have someone that passes down. But, I think the wedding and having that dream wedding that you didn't have in your 20s, that'd be awesome to get. So that I understand.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, I wish there was a mid-range of cash to trash. So it's like, it's hot trash. This is reality TV.
That's fair.
I think it's cool that Netflix has really upped their game from the reality TV standpoint, because that's something that's obviously just been sitting there on cable for a long time, being a success. And now they're getting into the game with a big budget. And it seems like people are watching these things, which is cool.
This is their, I think Say I Do is another one that was like weddings, so like couples who want to get married but they don't have the money to do so. In that case, 3 guys show up and they put on the wedding, and like in that case, I think a lot of money is getting saved on the situation of that movie show. I will say one thing: this show was probably filmed in the summer of 2019, maybe the fall of 2019. So for anyone who picked that wedding, it definitely did not happen as anticipated in 2020. So more so, take the house, because...
So glad we got married in 2019.
Yeah, because if you're, I got my dream wedding, but now COVID's happened. I don't even want to think about the logistics of, like, some of the people who may have just kind of been like, we're not supposed to have a gathering, but we're still going to do it anyway because, gosh darn it, I'm going to have this dream wedding.
Yeah.
I'm really happy. I will never be, hopefully, in that situation where I have to pick. It's just kind of funny. You're the ones who pick the wedding where they're like, yeah, and then COVID happened. So what was the point?
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
So half trash, half cash.
Half trash, half cash. Okay. We do need to find something in the middle that's like hot trash, or like.
It's hot. I mean, and that's what this is. This is hot, entertaining trash.
Yeah. Mitchell, what do you got for cash or trash?
Yes, it's not a movie. It's actually a Netflix docuseries called Last Chance U. And the new season came out, and it's all about a JUCO basketball team, East Los Angeles College. And primarily for those who are already familiar with the title Last Chance U, the previous seasons on Netflix have focused on junior colleges with football programs. This one in particular is focused on basketball. It's the first one to do that for the series. And I think they did a fantastic job of picking the perfect team to follow. It's everything from the coach, Coach Mosley, who is half preacher, half head coach, who's a guy who could be, coaching at the Division I level. They both show you and they bring people in to further contextualize that this guy knows what he's doing, and he could be at a Pac-12 school, he could be at, a Big West school or wherever, but he is choosing to stay at the junior college level, and he has for, at this point in the series, 8 years of his career, because he feels called by God to guide these kids who are going through really rough times. The junior college route in college basketball is a last resort for so many of these athletes. We get stories from all different backgrounds of people who were Division I athletes at Penn State, but because of injury and falling into certain vices like smoking and just overeating and stuff, lost a scholarship. And now they're in a position to claw their way back into Division I athletics. And then you had folks who were fantastic athletes in high school, but were pulling sub 2.0 GPAs and couldn't get an offer because they didn't have the grades. And then you had other kids who had criminal charges against them. It's just a whole nother bag, where we had kids during the season that this docuseries is taking place in who had court hearings to go to. It's a wild canvas of different characters and players who are involved here. And the guy linchpinning it all together is Coach Mosley, who, don't get me wrong, could be an absolute asshole at times, but it's all coming from a good place. And from the end, from the beginning to the end of this thing, you can tell what his objective is. And damn it, he is able to have these kids realize the best in themselves. And for the most part, there's a happy ending for most of these kids. And that's something where Last Chance U football doesn't quite have that, because football, there's just more injury in play, all that kind of stuff. There are more players to keep track of. But with basketball, they really just took a handful of kids. And
you
it
get
was
your
so much easier
12,
to follow.
11, whatever it is, probably.
Yeah. That's it. And they chose the right players to focus on in particular. And it's funny, as a sports fan, I didn't know that I was seeing some of these players actually already play at the Division I level after this documentary series was done taping. There's a guy named Joe Hampton. I'm a UC Santa Barbara fan. I went there, and they play Long Beach State in the Big West. Joe Hampton. Fred Hampton's from Judas and Black Messiah. Joe Hampton was a guy who was playing on Long Beach State. He was a starting power forward for them. And I'm like, oh my God, he was at Last Chance U. And it's crazy to see these guys actually be at the next level. So it's great to see their backstories and stuff. This is absolute cash. Open up the bank vault. Give me all the money in there. This is the most cash that I could ever ask for in a docuseries. I binged it in only a couple days. It's a great ride. And the heartbreaking thing is this. I was watching this series and completely just swept up in, are they going to make the playoffs? What seed are they going to get? Are they going to win the championship? And then there's an episode where Kobe dies. And then I realized, oh no, COVID's coming. And they don't know it. And how the team deals with that is incredible. And this is crazy. And one, the storytelling is phenomenal in that respect, is how they plant different seeds like that strategically throughout the series. And also, just from a pure, this is a documentary, but from a pure cinematography point of view, the way they shoot these basketball games, especially the home games, where I think just the crew was given more reign to do stuff. Right. It is great storytelling from just a pure basketball us versus them mentality that, frankly, I don't think I have seen in a basketball movie since, I don't know, He Got Game immediately comes to mind. But from a documentary point of view, you're looking at this, you're looking at The Last Dance, you're looking at Hoop Dreams. I think this movie, from a cinematography point of view, captures the game the best. Yeah. And that's including The Last Dance, which I think is the best basketball documentary that I've ever seen. Yeah. Maybe a top 5 overall for me.
I will also say with Last Dance, they didn't know what they were doing at that point to record the games, kind of thing.
Yeah, it frankly, it's an NBA game, so the access that you would have at a junior college versus at NBA, it's night and day. Yeah. Right, the junior college is like, yeah, whatever you want.
You want this angle? Okay, we'll move players off the bench for you.
Yeah, and frankly, the camera technology is, that was filmed in the late 90s. And now here we have phantom cams and all this kind of stuff. The slow-mo shots are gorgeous. The storytelling is fantastic. They did a great job of researching this school, why this is the school that deserved a Last Chance U treatment. And it's just a great ride. It's a great ride. It's really fascinating. So it's East Los Angeles College. So it's funny. I was a sports info director before coming to my current job. And at UC Santa Barbara, we took in in the Big West in general, we take a lot of junior college transfers to join the men's Division I teams. And one of the teams that you would see consistently in a roster is East Los Angeles College. And this is a program that in California certainly is known for doing this, and it's because of Coach Mosley. So it's very cool. And even if you're not a sports fan, I think a lot of people could take a lot of really cool, just buckle up for the ride kind of experience from it. And I highly, highly recommend it.
Cash. Cool.
Cash.
Cool.
That'll do it for episode 31 of Game for a Movie. I've been your host, Mike, joined by
Jill
and Mitchell.
We will have this revealed after episode 30. I know it was kind of weird because we recorded it first, but that's just sometimes how it happens. Andre will be back for us for 30 and then hopefully 32. We'll see after that. Yeah.
Or 30 screw.
30 screw. Oh, nice. All right.
I celebrated a friend's 30 screw birthday, so.
No, that's good. No, it's good. Yeah.
Use it while you can.
Well, we're looking forward to episode 30 screw. Yeah, maybe we'll also be doing Vampire Boys 3.
We'll circle back to Vampire Boys 3 Unfanged.
Yes, Unfanged. Yes. Cool. So this is Game for a Movie, where we ask, are you game for a movie? We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's cash or trash. Cash or trash. Will it wear a sash or give you a rash? It's cash or trash.